Good morning. Are there any public speakers? Okay, good. Approve the minutes from the last meeting? Thank you. So moved. Before we go to our typical agenda, there was, luckily, this is a very atypical situation, and luckily there was a hero involved. And his name is William Allen. Could he come up, Mr. Allen? Hi. I know I'm a girl, so this makes me very teary.
Thank you, sir.
But
Wow. Hello, everyone.
bus operator Allen has worked out of the Fresh Pond Depot for 12 years. And on October 20th at 4 o'clock in the morning, he found a 2-year-old boy. I believe he was partially dressed.
Just his little cartoon character underpants on.
Wow. Walking.
And no shoes, no pants, no shirt. No, actually, he was just standing there with his hands clenched to his chest, shivering. So he was very cold.
So he was walking around, and as it turns out, our hero here contacted the police, and after they knocked on lots of doors, they found out where the child was living, and there was also a 1-year-old child in the home, and they were unsupervised. There weren't any parents home. And if it's, as Joe just said to me, if you didn't take action, or if you ignored it, or didn't see him, God knows what he would have frozen. The 1-year-old probably would have died. And so we appreciate this we, meaning the universe, appreciates this very much. And you're our hero of the year so far.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You're more than welcome.
Okay.
Right here between these.
Oh, sure.
Hey.
I haven't seen you with the camera this whole time. I'm like, what is this guy taking pictures of you? Now I know.
I do things in threes for the blinkers. Okay.
Thank you
very much.
You're more than
Thank
welcome.
you.
You're more than welcome. All right, Jim. Thank you. Oh, sure. Thank you. Have a nice day.
All the best.
All right. Thank you.
Take care.
All right.
Happy Halloween.
Look at this. Right, but thank you.
Yeah, I believe so. Thank God he was there. Thank God he saw it.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, I can't imagine then. Okay, there are no changes to the work plan this month. Now, you're going to...
Yes, good morning. Chairperson Chavella, members of the committee, I will now give the floor to John Hine for the operations report. Before I do that, though, to show you how freaky things were, when that bus operator pulled his bus out that morning, he didn't go down the normal street because there was a delivery truck. So he was forced to go down a different street. And as he went down the different street, he says as he passed the corner, he saw the little boy standing there. And he said he looked, and he saw him all by himself, shaking. So that's when he threw his doors open.
Oh, I didn't know that bit.
Called 911. So thank God. It's strange the way things happen, but thank God he was there when he was. So go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
Good morning. The performance highlights for the month of August are on pages 10 and 11 of the committee book. Overall, combined bus MDBF, I'm pleased to say, was up. Was up by 1.7% in August of 2010 compared to the 09 levels. The combined 12-month average MDBF was also up by 4.1% compared to the prior 12-month average. I hope we can say the same for September. August bus service performance measures declined slightly. Combined AM weekday pullouts were 99.15%, and combined PM weekday pullouts were 99.41% for the month of August. For the previous 12 months, combined AM weekday pullouts were 99.11%, and PM weekday pullouts were 99.36%. Completed trips were 98.44% for the month of August and 98.43% for the previous 12 months. To present the safety performance, I'll introduce Steve Vidal.
Thank you, John. Our comments on July safety performance reference the results that are listed on page 12. The 12-month rate for combined bus collisions per million miles traveled across the 3 bus units is trending in the right direction. The negative 1.2% variance is an improvement over last month's reported variance of 2.1. We are continuing our focus on safety initiatives designed to improve performance in this area and anticipate ongoing positive results. Our overall 12-month rate for bus collision injuries per million miles has also begun to trend in a positive way. This month we're at 10.3% over last year, which is an improvement over the previously reported 13.5%. As I explained to the committee last month, multiple accidents involving 5 or more injuries continue to be under investigation by the Public Transportation Safety Board. A number of these accidents involve minimal, if any, property damage, and the number of injuries being claimed is not consistent with the circumstances of the accident. We have shared this information with Transit's law department so that they can flag claims that might arise from these accidents. Further, as the PTSB investigations are finalized, we'll continue to make every effort to incorporate related findings into our safety and training initiatives. The long-term 12-month rate for both customer accidents and customer accident injuries is turning the tide since we addressed this issue during the first quarter of this year. During the month of July, there were positive gains in New York City Transit in both customer accidents and customer accident injuries. The one-month anomaly occurring at both MTA Bus and Long Island Bus in July has had a disproportionate impact on this month's performance report, and we're reviewing the July safety data in detail for these 2 agencies. We are seeing that MTA Bus remains positive for the 12-month average, and the July results have been reviewed on a case-by-case basis to resolve any potential long-term negative trends. Also, as I noted at the September committee meeting, changes were made to Long Island Bus's safety reporting to standardize measurements of data, and year-over-year comparisons will not accurately reflect trends until the full reporting period is integrated into the data. This is why Long Island Bus data continues to reflect negative trend in all 5 safety categories. The 12-month rate for employee on-duty lost time accidents is up 0.5% from the 2009 level. This is a considerable improvement in the trend since September, and even greater improvement from the 69% reported in February. Consistent with the longer-term trending, our lost time accident level for the month of July 2010 was 38.4% better than July 2009, and this marks the 6th consecutive month of improvement. Earlier this month, President Smith honored 4 of our location safety officers with challenge coins in recognition of their exceptional work toward improving the performance in this area. Now I'd like to introduce Steve Lopiano, who is sitting in for Tom Charles, to present the paratransit information.
Good morning. I will begin with the paratransit report on page 14. Accessoride paratransit ridership increased by 8.5% for the month of August. Able Ride was down 12.4% compared to August 2009 levels. The Able Ride decrease reflects the elimination of non-ADA trips implemented as part of the 2010 budget reduction plan. For the most recent 12-month period through August 2010, Accessoride ridership was up 10.5% and Able Ride was down 3.7% compared to the prior 12-month period. Requests for service in August increased by 7.7% for Accessoride and decreased by 13.5% for Able Ride compared to August 2009. For the 12-month period, requests for service increased 10.2% for Accessoride and were down 3.6% for Able Ride. Trips completed were up by 8.6% for Accessoride and down by 13.5% for Able Ride in August 2010 when compared to August 2009. For the last 12 months, completed trips were up 10.3% for Accessoride and down 3.6% for Able Ride when compared to the prior 12-month period. The favorable trend regarding passenger no-shows as a percentage of scheduled trips continued for Accessoride in August, as there were 19.2% fewer no-shows compared to last year. However, Able Ride passenger no-shows increased slightly by 1.2% in August 2010 compared to August 2009. These results reflect stabilization of customer confusion experienced in July as a result of the elimination of the non-ADA trips. I'd like to introduce Tom Del Sorbo to present the ridership, finance, and procurement sections of the agenda.
Good morning. I will start with the ridership report, which is on page 13.
I'm sorry. Can I ask some questions on
Sure.
paratransit? Over the last 6, 7, 8, 9 months at this point, we've been talking about pilot projects with working with the Taxi and Limousine Commission in New York City, both in yellow cabs and in black cars. I dare ask, because every time I've asked, it's always within the month of when that pilot program is starting.
The pilot project involving the yellow cabs, the taxi pilot project,
Yeah.
which is going to be in Manhattan, we've made considerable progress on that, and we're about, I would say, 6 weeks away from starting the project. What we're waiting for now is the sponsor bank to complete their tasks. Everything on our end has been completed, and we're just waiting for that to happen, and we'll start the pilot then. As far as the black cars go, we're in that regard, we're negotiating or attempting to negotiate 2 contracts, one with the livery vendor and another with a black car vendor. We've had considerable negotiations with the livery vendor and preliminary negotiations with the black car vendor. The livery vendor has come down to an issue of final price negotiations. We think it should turn out favorable, but we don't know at this point because we haven't received their final submissions. We will receive their final submissions sometime this week. We'll evaluate it, and we should be able to move quickly on that one. The one with the black car is going to take a little longer because it's in the preliminary stages, but we hope to have something in place by the end of the year.
Is there anything that the Taxi and Limousine Commission needs to do, particularly on the yellow taxi one? I mean, I appreciate 6 more weeks. With all due respect, I've heard that for 6 months. But I understand it's complicated and there's a lot to do. Is there anything the Taxi and Limousine Commission needs to do, or is it purely in the hands of the bank?
TLC is provided all the data that they needed to provide for the project, and they've been extremely helpful. And as I said before, right now we're just waiting for the bank to complete what it has to do, and the pilot is ready to go.
And how long would the pilot run for?
The pilot would run for 3 months, with options to continue it if it proves favorable, which we hope to be the case.
How could it not prove favorable? Essentially, all this is using yellow cabs within Manhattan at probably 1/3 the cost or probably half at this rate, since you got the number down. Half the cost of a paratransit ride.
I agree with you. It should prove favorable, but we need to get our customers' reaction to the experience and fine-tune it from that point. And we fully expect to, follow the options in the agreement that we have, roll it out for a longer period of time with the existing customers that have signed up for the pilot, increase that amount, and roll it out to the other boroughs, at a time thereafter.
And how many customers have signed up for the pilot?
We have approximately 300 customers signed up for the pilot now. We would like to bring that up to, I think, a maximum of 500, but 300 to 400 would be sufficient for the pilot purposes.
We focus mostly on the subscription riders to make sure we knew their patterns and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Correct? It's all subscription riders.
Okay, thanks.
The pilot right now is in Manhattan, south of 96th Street. And the reason that is because we've identified a lot of our subscription customers utilize yellow cabs in that area. Hopefully we could roll it out to the rest of Manhattan, shortly thereafter if it proves successful, which I'm sure it will.
And the livery and black cars would go in the other boroughs as well, correct?
Primarily,
the goal
yes.
With the yellows is because that's where the yellows go, but the black and liveries are to serve the other boroughs.
Citywide.
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay. Ridership report on page 13, the committee book. Total fixed route ridership decreased slightly by 0.7% for the month of August in comparison to August 2009. For the full 12-month period, total ridership was down by 2.9% as compared to the previous 12 months. Against the mid-year forecast, year-to-date, MTA Bus is exceeding its ridership forecast by 2.1. Long Island Bus is 0.4% better than mid-year forecast, but New York City Transit's Department of Buses is 0.7 lower than forecast through August. On weekday ridership, combined average weekday ridership was down 0.7 for August and 2.1 for the 12-month period. Average weekend ridership was also down 0.7 for the month of August, but 3.4% down for the 12-month period. Now, preliminary ridership data for September 2010 by agency after the June service reduction shows that MTA Bus average weekday ridership dropped slightly by 0.4% in September as compared to September 2009. Local bus ridership fell by 0.4, and express ridership in September for MTA Bus was down 2.9. However, average MTA bus weekend ridership actually rose 2.8% in September, with gains seen on both the local and express side. In Long Island Bus, the preliminary data shows that September weekday ridership fell very slightly by 0.1% compared to September 2009, and average weekend ridership increased by 4% in Long Island Bus in September 2010. For New York City Transit Bus, average weekday ridership in September 10 fell by 2.9 from the prior year, and weekend ridership fell by 1.1 as compared to September 2009. Weekday local bus ridership fell by 2.9%, and weekday express ridership decreased by 4.7 in New York City Transit Bus during September 2010. On page 15, I'll turn to the finance report, which is summarized then. Fixed route fare box revenue for August 2010 shows that we were 13% better than the mid-year forecast for MTA Bus, 4% better than the mid-year forecast for Long Island Bus revenue, but 2.9% worse than forecast for New York City Transit Bus. Year-to-date, MTA Bus is running 2.5% better than forecast for farebox revenues. Long Island Bus 1.1 above the forecast, and Department of Buses is 1.1 below. Year-to-date through August, accrued actual non-reimbursable expenses before all non-cash adjustments for MTA Bus was $16.8 million worse than the forecast levels. As we discussed last month, that entire overrun was due to the one-time revision in the accrued public liability claims category. Actually, the rest of MTA Bus was $7 million under budget against that overall claims overrun. In Long Island Bus, year-to-date, they were $2.8 million better than mid-year forecast. And New York City Transit Bus, non-reimbursable expenses were $41 million better than forecast for the year-to-date through August. And that concludes the finance report. Move on to procurements.
Committee members, stop me if you have any questions.
Okay. Beginning on page 41, we have a total of 27 different procurement actions totaling $151.5 million in proposed expenditures for approval this month. On page 49, for the Department of Buses, we have one non-competitive procurement of $40,454,918 for approval. This action represents the purchase of 90 low-floor, 40-foot diesel buses from Nova Bus.
For which service is that?
Local.
MTA Bus?
No, this is for Department of Buses. Yeah. On the competitive procurement actions, there are a total of 25 competitive procurement actions for New York City Transit Department of Buses totaling $110.8 million for approval. This includes a total of 24 companies that are recommended for award to provide voucher-based cost services for paratransit, as shown on page 50, which includes the staff summary for those 24 firms. And then finally, on page 52, the procurement agenda includes one ratification for the committee's approval in the amount of $249,900. And we seek the committee's approval for the 27 procurement actions in this month's agenda.
A lot of money here. Sorry.
On the service contracts of the accessorized vouchers, just so I understand the difference, the pilot program is intended to use for credit card access, correct? This is a voucher program which has currently been in place that you're now rolling out much larger?
This procurement is primarily a renewal of existing contracts that we have for the voucher program.
Right.
The project that we're rolling out in piloting is going to test cards as
Right.
well as a broker system.
Right. So these new contracts, which you wrote, the average cost of the ride is probably about $20, maybe up to $25 per ride. Are we expanding the use of the voucher transportation contracts?
Yes, we are.
Due to this service, you're extending it. Are we expanding the use of it, and how much are we expanding the use of it?
We're absolutely expanding the use of it, and we intend to go from around 15% of total trips in 2010 to 20 to 25% of total trips in 2011.
So in 2011, 25% of all paratransit rides will be done through a voucher system?
A voucher or taxi system, yes. That's what we're shooting for. That's our goal. And to do that, we need to expand our base of voucher and taxi providers.
And is this, you said that this is a renewal then. Have you increased the number of vendors then that are able to do that?
This procurement here basically renews what we have, which brings us to about the 15% level. What we're adding in terms of the brokers,
Right.
if we can add both of them, should bring us to the 20 or better
Okay,
level.
but this just renews the current level of service that we have now.
That is correct.
And there's no way to expand the current program with the current number of vendors we have now.
We have,
Correct.
Jeff, this is going to increase the number of vendors that we have awards to in this particular area.
By how
slightly.
many?
I can get back to you on that, on the exact numbers. I think we have 18. I think we're going to 24, but I just want to check and see because we had a few drop out.
And so this year then, we've had 15% of all rides are covered by the voucher system?
Right now through...
Because I hope it's the case.
Right.
And I hope
Well,
we
when
get to
you look-
25. That seems much higher than I had originally asked at the
Right.
beginning of the year when we passed the budget.
We started the year at 10%, okay, and August data is slightly below 15%. It's like 14.6%.
Great. Thanks.
I had a question on procurement H1 on page 50, where it said that one of the 6 contractors' dedicated services didn't transition to a primary carrier due to its lack of submission requirements. Was there anything critical missing in those submission requirements that would lead us to maybe not do business with this vendor, or was it just a bureaucratic form?
It was strictly a lack of sophistication with regard to proposals. They didn't respond, and again, this was the primary. They were responding to the primary contract,
Okay.
which was a fairly in-depth submission requirement, and they literally did not. They submitted a few pieces of paper. They couldn't handle the submission requirements. That doesn't mean they're not a good provider of this particular service, because they've been very good with providing the regional service.
Are they going to eventually try to become a primary and get this paperwork in, or not?
Well, I would think that in the future we may be winding down primary service.
Okay.
So I think for them right now, the regional is an opportunity. We're also exploring possibilities of looking at other regional services being rolled out, where they'd be a good candidate.
Great.
Again, to continue the service.
Okay, thanks.
What's going to happen on August 31st of next year? This extension is till when?
We hope that we'll have vouchers in place that we'll be able to absorb and take up the service in that particular area. And as I said, we may be looking at another pilot for regional service.
Oh, yes.
Nancy, 2 questions for Joe. Joe, would you comment briefly on the role that Long Island bus played over the weekend on the Jamaica cutover and what might happen if there were no Long Island bus? And secondly, could you comment on the applicability of the voucher credit card experience in the city to Long Island bus? Thank you.
This weekend we had a huge shuttle that we actually used all 3 bus companies to provide for Long Island Railroad this weekend. And Long Island buses, it's in Long Island, is a key player in all of that. We did use MTA Bus and New York City Transit out of Archer and Suffern, but out in the island, they're right there, and they're a key player in all of that, just like they were a key player with the fire they had in Jamaica. So you're able to use the resources of 6,000 buses when something like that happens, an emergency, like the night of the tornado and the bad storm. So they're a key role in that. And the voucher service for Able Ride?
The voucher service for Able Ride is a little bit more
Yeah.
because there's no centralized taxi limousine commission to deal with. So what we have done is we submitted a request for information from providers in that area. We've received responses, and we're at the point now where we're going to go through those, and we fully intend to follow that, the same path with Able Ride that we did with Accessor Ride, where we get vendors to provide that type of service and ultimately utilize a card.
Mitch?
I just wanted to, the buses under the Nova contract are being made in Plattsburgh.
Yes, they are.
Last time I looked, Plattsburgh was in New York State.
Correct.
Thank you.
Hasn't succeeded.
Barely, but
It counts, though.
still there.
My break
But still
off.
there.
The time before that.
Okay. All righty. Well, a motion to spend all this money?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Okay, now for this month's service changes, we'll turn the floor over to Norm Silverman.
Good morning. This month, a total of 4 service changes are included in the committee book as information items beginning on your page 53. 1 service change is for MTA Bus, and 3 are for New York City Transit Department of Buses. They are as follows. First, for MTA Bus, a revision to permanently relocate the Q101 local bus terminus in East Midtown Manhattan in support of the M15 Select Bus Service Program, and revise the travel path in East Midtown. That has already been done to accommodate the SBS program. That's going to be described a little later. A reroute of the B-54 in the Metrotech Center in downtown Brooklyn. A revision of bus service in the Eastern Bronx. And lastly, proposed bus schedule revisions effective January 2011, reflecting 11 changes on 9 routes operated by New York City Transit. Details of all the service changes are contained in the staff summaries submitted to the committee. If there are no questions,
There are.
I'm sorry, I stand corrected.
Come on, Norm. So, many of us have seen the report that was done on Channel 11 about where, the underpass, the overpass of the Queensboro Bridge that Q101 riders are being relegated to. It's dark. What are we doing about ensuring safety and a little more light in what looks to be a little bit deserted compared to where it was?
Well, actually, there's plenty of light there. I was personally there. The roadway goes over, the overhead elevated roadway is actually above the roadway below. So the place where people get off the bus, and they don't wait there, it's not a pickup stop, it's only a drop-off stop, is well lit from overhead. In addition to the skylighting, the natural skylighting, there's actually lots of street illumination there. Having said that, this weekend we instituted something what we call a loop privilege. That allows customers at that stop, at the last stop, to remain on board the bus through the layover and disembark at the next stop, which is actually the first pickup stop on 2nd Avenue south of 61st Street. So we believe that mitigation should solve the problem, and that's been done this past weekend.
Okay, that's.
The issue is that some people don't like to get off at what we consider the last stop, where the bus lays over before beginning its trip back towards Astoria and Steinway. So we, as a convenience to the customer, because there's a perception of a security issue, even though it's a drop-off only stop, we allowed a provision that we call a loop privilege to allow the customer to remain on board the bus through the layover. Typically 5 to 8, 9 minutes. But it's their option. They don't have to do that.
Okay. We don't need to vote on them, on the service changes, correct?
I'm sorry, say that?
We don't have to
No,
vote
that's
on
for
the service.
they're all for information only.
Okay. If there are no other questions, there's one other item. We're going to have a short presentation by Joe on the select bus service.
I don't want to repeat what was repeated before, but, as you know, on October 10th, we started Select Bus Service. We modeled it after what we had going on Fordham Road in the Bronx, which has been very successful. We had about a 20% increase in running time. The ridership went up. It was just a plus all the way around. And as time went on, we had to add buses, and it really worked out for everyone. So we started off at the M15, very ambitious. We were looking to do a lot of things there. We modeled it basically on what we learned up in the Bronx. But we may have been a little bit too aggressive in it. The 1st and 2nd Avenue is a really long thoroughfare, and it's got a lot of roadblocks to getting the bus up to the speed that we need. Saying all that, I will tell you after the first week, we got the bus speeds down another 10 minutes from the beginning to the end. We feel once that the traffic signal priority and people become... Bus speeds up, I'm sorry. Once we get the traffic signal priority and people get used to it, the bus will move even faster than it's moving now. We're going to have a new pick. We're going to add three buses, I believe, at the end of October. Maybe it's 3, maybe it's 2, I'm not really sure. We've had several buses out there to break the headways at different points along the route. It's proving to be successful, and the bus is getting, every day people are getting used to they have to get the receipt before they get on the bus. And it's not perfect, but it's really improved tremendously. And what I was going to do, Doreen, We have Ted and Mike Rebush, Ted Oroz, who's in operations planning, who's Mr. SBS, we call him. And Mike Rebush is one of my road people from that he does Manhattan, he does everywhere for me, and they've really put a lot of effort and a lot of time into it, and we can see the results. So.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Madam Chairman. My name's Ted Orris, and as Joe said, we had certainly some growing pains the first couple days, but a lot of personnel were out working very hard to make the service operate better, and we had staff at every bus stop for most of the day assisting customers, showing them how the system works. And although there certainly was a large amount of confusion and concern and even some anger on the part of the customers the first couple days, by the middle of the first week, much of that was ameliorated as people became more comfortable with the new system and understand it better. And one of the things, quite honestly, that made things worse was that the schedule wasn't operating the way we had hoped, and buses were taking longer. And with some of the adjustments that were made midweek and a new schedule that's going in Sunday, we're much more confident that the buses will be running on time, and that'll allay a lot of the concerns that we've heard at the bus stops. As Joe said, we're adding 2 peak buses and 4 runs with the new schedule. And generally, while it was first couple days were not as smooth as we would have hoped, we are getting there, and it is operating much better. And we're confident that with the new schedule, it should be a noteworthy improvement for people.
One of the things we did also was we removed all the time points on the route. So your time point as a bus operator is 126th Street and South Ferry. There's no time points in between. So what we learned in the Bronx is when we did have time points, what the operators did, they were going so fast, they wound up slowing down to meet the time point and defeating the purpose of it. So we eliminated that. Also, I have Vinny DiMarino here who does our security, and he's in charge of all the inspectors on that route. And for the first few weeks, we were his people going on and helping us. We had over 300 ambassadors out there and trying to get people accustomed to the machines. And after a while, some of the people know the machines better than we do. They're really quick and to the point. The blue lights coming down the block, you can see the bus from 10 blocks away, and you're able to make a decision at that point whether to buy a ticket or not. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Ted.
Ted, or Joe, one of the real problems that we heard from riders was the inability to use the proof of payment slips should you opt for a local bus. Has that been resolved?
In a word, yes. You can use the proof of payment receipts on the local bus. We're asking the bus operators to collect them from the customers so that they don't become street media. I think that problem will greatly reduce over time as customers realize that the Select Bus is going to be their choice for most trips. If someone is going from a local stop to a local stop, they will ride the local bus. Or if they have a mobility impairment that doesn't allow them to walk several blocks to the Select Bus service stops. But I think at the busy stops at 14th Street, 23rd Street, 42nd Street, and so on, most of the customers are going to find the Select Bus is the way to go, and we're going to see much less of people running back and forth between the local bus and the Select Bus. In fact, an anecdote, I was standing at 34th Street, and there was a little gap in Select, and a local bus came, and all the people said, "Oh, can I get on the local bus?" And I said, "Certainly," and they all went running over to the local bus, and it takes a while, as we know, to board customers at the fare box, and within seconds the Select Bus came around, and then they all came running back. We're going to see much less of that. The operation is going to be much smoother, and it should be good.
Are there, or are you planning to put the cameras on those buses?
In short, we are piloting a couple
There's going to be
cameras.
cameras on the route, but not on the, for now, not on the buses. They're going to be on the route, though.
Fixed on the road itself?
Yes. Yeah. Right now, we have a pilot with two SUVs, road patrol vehicles that have cameras out there now. We're looking to see what kind of data they're able to gather, how they perform in the environment, and so far they're doing pretty good.
And have you found problems with people in the lanes parked to be a real problem?
There certainly are lane violators, and the police have been out in force issuing summonses to both cars that are driving illegally in the bus lane and cars that are parked or trucks parked blocking the bus lane.
And how has the program worked with taxis being in the lane? I know that they made that a violation against the taxi world, that if the yellow taxis are there, they can get charged. They at least, you couldn't actually have an enforcement action with the cameras. I don't know if you're aware of it.
At this point, my observations were that the taxis are pretty much staying out of the lane. Yeah.
It really improved as the week went on, I have to tell you. It really got better. We're not having the bridge traffic get dumped into the bus lane any longer. There was a lot of construction going on. We got all of that out of the way. We got the usual people that park in lanes and block us. We got them after the first few days out of the way. The speeds improved by 10 minutes in 1 week. And that was because everybody started cooperating and everybody started getting used to it. It wasn't not only the customer, people kept the lane clear for us. So it definitely is getting better.
As you probably know, every bus in Paris on the issue of cameras has had, for the last 7 years, 4 cameras on the inside and 1 in the front and 1 in the back. It can be done.
Yes. You're right.
And a lot less buses than we do.
What?
Now they have no fuel for the citizens.
What's the schedule with regard to the traffic light priority?
I believe is it spring of April of 2011?
That's correct. And the traffic signal priority for the M15 route will be between South Ferry and Houston Street. When you get into the Manhattan street grid, north at Houston Street, there are bus lanes to help the buses, but the other thing is that the amount of time allocated to the cross streets, like 15th Street or 31st Street, is really the amount of time it takes a pedestrian to cross the avenue. So it's very hard to take time away from those cross streets. There are certainly some places where that can and should happen, but for the initial implementation, it'll be the intersections between Houston Street and South Ferry, where there's no bus lane.
To show you how the bus lane is working, as soon as the bus lane stops working in the morning, my travel speeds go up tremendously. So that's how you know the bus lane is working. Right, Mike? We look at the running time?
Yes, good morning. Primarily the offset lanes help a tremendous deal because it allows the curbside delivery while maintaining the flow of traffic. And we have seen significant improvements in running time in the first week. Once we were able to sample each service day, we had actually put out extra service to compensate for the service running behind schedule. So we have 4 buses a day, 2 a.m., 2 p.m., and we also allocated 3 extra fixed post supervisors, 3 on weekday, 2 on Saturday and Sunday.
And we're seeing a slight increase already in the people, the ridership on the that are using the machines versus the ridership that was using the former limited. So people are going to the bus because the ridership's going up.
I agree. And once like Ted said, when the customers buy their ticket, the 3 doors open and the boarding is within minutes, and there's no dwell time at the fare box.
Could you comment on the speeds that you're achieving through the construction zone for the subway? Because it seems antithetical to be running a service where your goal is speed and efficiency through a construction zone. Is it hampering us, or
It's
is it?
definitely hampering us. Coming down, it's really slowing us down between 125th and 96th there. Right, Mike? Why don't you speak up about that?
Yeah, that's where we've seen the most significant running time. The schedule that's going to be in effect this coming Sunday, we've primarily seen that the majority of additional running time is in the southbound direction.
Yeah, because I'm hearing wonderful reports south of 40th Street, but up in the area there, it just makes me wonder why the heck are we even doing it while there's such heavy construction going on.
It's not only even if you wanted to go fast, with the road conditions, you can't. So and the buses are all new that are there, and they're three-door buses, and we just tell everybody try to do what you can. And in the beginning, operators drive the bus, and if there's no way that they can make the end or close to schedule, after a few days they give up and they get very frustrated. So that's why we're changing the schedule, and we're taking that into consideration, because I don't think we did in the beginning. But it's definitely hampering us. Those first 25 blocks are definitely slowing us down.
And how long are you cross-honoring the SBS ticket on a local bus?
Well, right now we're taking all I think we're going to have to watch it and see how it goes along. Hopefully, when Smart Card comes out, that will solve that problem. But right now, we have all the operators have orders on the M15 locals to accept the receipts that are given to them from the SBS machines.
Yeah, I mean, SBS is a wonderful concept. I just kind of wonder if it's a wonderful idea whose time is not yet here because the fare media hasn't caught up. I mean, once we do go to that, which is, I think, what, 2 years away for Smart Card, this should be a wonderful, seamless process, but it makes me wonder why we started it now when there still are so many impediments like construction in this area.
Manhattan bus ridership is the only borough out of the 5 boroughs that have been dropping steadily. It's now when you combine with MTA bus, it's the 4th borough when it comes to ridership. It used to be the 1st borough when it came to ridership. Now Queens is higher, Brooklyn, the Bronx, everybody else is higher. Manhattan continues to go down, and it goes down for the one reason is bus speeds. The bus speeds are so horrible in Manhattan, and yeah. But it always had the subways. The subways have always been there, and the ridership used to be there years ago, but it steadily is going downhill. Hopefully this will turn. M34, we put a bus lane on 34th Street. We did some enforcement. That's the only one that's gone up in the city is the M34.
It's moving.
Yeah, because it's moving. And the M60 that goes to LaGuardia Airport is another one that's gone up. Other than that, Manhattan's bus ridership continues to go down in the other direction. So. Okay?
Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you, especially Director.
That's it.
Okay, I move to conclude the meeting. Okay, see you next month.
Thank you.
November 15th.
What?